Kaniya Sadahari. One who thinks himself lower than the grass, who is more tolerant than a tree, and who does not expect personal honor, but is always prepared to give all respect to others, can very easily always chant the holy name of the Lord. So I have a workshop on humility. It's 16 hours. That's only half of it. That's only part one. So I could go for about 30 hours on this. But I'm going to focus on one thing, and that is what Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said. He said, humility in chanting means Krishna developing love for you is such a high goal, it's such a high prospect, high ideal, and for a conditioned soul that I need help, I need your help. So chanting in humility is, Krishna, I need your help to develop love for you. That's the mood. So I just want to focus on this aspect of humility for today, that I need help. And what I would like you to do is think about your number one biggest obstacle in your spiritual life. Of course, our own minds are our biggest obstacles, but specifically something that you feel is a real problem, that you really, if there was a magic wand that I had and I could come around and just touch you and that problem would go away, what problem would you choose for me to remove? Just take a moment and think about that. I know there's a lot to choose from, but choose the one that you think is the biggest obstacle in your relationship with Krishna. You want me to give you multiple choice? Lust, anger, greed, envy, false ego, pride. One of the ways to think about this problem is to think, what would my life be like if I didn't have this problem? What would my Krishna consciousness be like if this problem did not exist? That will kind of intensify the realization of how big a problem it is. And as you think of the problem, visualize like this is a kind of like a big boulder between you and Krishna. This is one of the biggest blocks in your relationship with Krishna. I'd like you to feel how problematic this problem is for your spiritual life. Not just think how problematic it is, but feel how problematic it is. So now what we're going to do in this Japa session is we're going to pray to the holy name that I need your help in overcoming this problem. That's this meditation. And before we begin, I want to tell you a conversation I had with Burijan Prabhu. And you've probably, if you know this verse, you've probably wondered, how is it that if I'm humble, I could chant 24 hours a day? Have you ever thought like that? Like if you have difficulty chanting, maybe I'm not humble because I don't want to chant. Well, there are different ways we can explain this, but I will explain it in relation to what we're doing now. If we're chanting in this mood that Krishna, I need help, and we're meditating on some problem we have that seems persistent. We try to deal with it, it comes back, we think we've conquered it, it comes in the back door again. And we're dealing with it, we're trying. It's a real obstacle. As long as it's there, as long as we need help, we're going to want to chant, right? So how could I chant 24 hours a day? Well, because I have problems, I need help 24 hours a day. So I could always be chanting, technically speaking, right? Just not stop, because I always need help. Every time I've done this exercise, this is I don't know what the audience feels, but every time I've done this exercise, we all usually in a workshop will do it for maybe 2 rounds. We don't have time now. But every time I've done it, I never wanted to stop because I realized that this problem is so huge, I just have to keep chanting until it goes away. And I don't think it's going to go away in the next few hours of chanting. I think I need 24/7 chanting, and maybe I'll conquer it in a week or 2 if I could just chant all day and not sleep. That's kind of the mood we want to create here. Like when I tell you to stop, you should be feeling, no, I can't stop. I need to chant this problem away. That's the idea. Does that make sense? So what's the emotion? The emotion that we're putting into this is like, this is a real problem and I really need help. And so when I'm asking Krishna for help, this is like serious. This is like, my ego is so big, or my greed is so big, or this attachment is so huge, or this conditioning that I have, it's so deeply rooted, I desperately need help. And that's the mood we're going to chant. Just like, I'm totally helpless. Like, on my own, I'm never going to conquer this. Krishna, if you just have to take this, so you have to help me, because I can't possibly do this on my own. That's the mood. Can we create that mood? The Draupadi effect, totally like helpless. I need your help, Krishna. Let us enter this mood. And I mean, this is the mood of japa. This is the mood of humility. This should always be there when we chant. But in this workshop, we're trying to intensify and focus so that we can take these experiences with us in our daily japa. Okay, are you ready? 3 people are ready. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, so the same idea is just meditate on this when you feel it, and feel that emotion, and you feel ready to start asking Krishna to help, then just, pray like you mean it. Like the energy of this room, if you're doing it properly, is going to be very intense with prayer and helplessness. And we should all feel it from one another. Okay. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama. Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama. Ram Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama. 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Ram. Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Ram Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram Hare Ram. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Ram. Krishna Hare Ram. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Ram Hare Ram. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Ram Hare Ram. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Ram. Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare Ram Hare Ram. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Ram. Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Ram. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Ram Hare Ram. Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram. Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram Ram. Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram. Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram Hare Ram. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram Ram. Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram Hare Ram. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram Hare Ram Ram Ram. Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram Ram. Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram. Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram 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 Ram. Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram Ram. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram Hare Ram Ram Ram. Hare Hare Krishna Hare Hare Ram Hare Ram Ram Ram. Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram. Hare Krishna Hare Hare Ram Hare Ram Ram Ram. Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram Hare Ram. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram Ram. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram Ram. Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram Hare Ram. Hare Krishna Hare Hare Ram 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 Ram. Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram. Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram Hare Ram Ram Ram. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram Hare Ram. Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram Hare Ram. Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram Hare Ram. Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram Hare Ram Ram Ram. Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram Ram Ram. Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram Hare Ram. Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram Hare Ram. Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram Hare Ram. Hare Hare Krishna Hare Ram Ram Ram. Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Ram Hare Ram. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram Hare Ram. Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Ram Hare Ram. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Ram Ram. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Ram Hare Ram. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Ram Hare Ram. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Ram Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna. Ram Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Krishna Hare Ram. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Krishna Hare Hare Ram. Hare Hare Krishna 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 Krishna Hare Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram. Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram. Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram. Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram, Ram. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram. Hare Hare Krishna Hare Hare Ram. Okay. Every morning, not every morning, anytime you chant, you can ask Krishna to help you with something. You can have this conversation with Krishna. So sometimes Japa can be a conversation, and if you listen, Krishna can talk to you. He can guide you in your plea, Krishna, please help me with this. And you're chanting and you're putting that into your mantra, I need help with this. My hands are up. I'm helpless. And you can listen and Krishna can guide you. And I want to give you a power user's secret to prayer. Prayers are more powerful when you expect Krishna to answer them. Because it's not coming, because if we're praying, sometimes we pray from fear. Krishna, I need you to help me, and if you don't, my life is going to crash. So it's not really coming from faith that Krishna will help me. It's coming from, what if you don't help me, then I'm falling off the cliff. And so it's more powerful to pray with faith that Krishna, I need your help and I know you will help me. And so you're kind of visualizing it and confident it will happen, and things tend to happen according to your faith and confidence in them happening. And faith, of course, is an essential aspect of bhakti. When it comes from fear, it tends to show a lack of faith. Krishna, I hope you fulfill this, help me with this, because if you don't, then I'm in trouble. And Krishna promises that he will help you, at least spiritually, with whatever you need. So it's nice to pray with this mood, Krishna, I need this, and I know you will help me, and be awaiting it and expecting it. Because expecting his mercy is one of the signs of surrender. Does that make sense? Yeah, it's a very beautiful way to pray. It's very powerful. It works that way much better. The other thing, which may become obvious to you when I say it, or maybe is already obvious to you, that these moods that we're setting require a proper environment to establish them. It's just hard to be in this mood sitting on the, what do you call here, the tube? Sitting on the tube, chanting your rounds on the way to work. It's hard to create this mood, right? But sitting in front of your altar early in the morning, you can create this environment. And so that's something to be aware of, that when you're out in your life and you're remembering this workshop and remembering the Siksastakam and the different moods, you might find it difficult to just pull that mood out of nowhere when you're just walking down the street. It may require a more serene environment to actually go into it, because it's prayerful. Would anybody like to share what was going on for them during this workshop, during this chanting?
Pranam, Hare Krishna. Thank you for a very powerful session. I have been fortunate to attend an earlier house program many years back, and gradually, as a learner, I'm trying to go deeper into Krishna consciousness. So, one of the frustrations and, let's say, difficulties is now doing 16 rounds a day, which I am doing. But because of my hearing, and also I have some difficulty with hearing, but tinnitus is there in the background. I create a mood to get into chanting. It can take me anything from 3 hours to more to do 16 rounds at stages in the day. Now the feeling that I want to create is, of course, emotional prayer to Krishna to help me, because he's the only one who shortened my time of quality japa. Because no point in being mechanical, I would enjoy that. And I find that I want to create that time. If I could do 16 rounds properly in, say, 2.5 hours, I have more time for reading or listening. So that's the help and guidance I am seeking. But I think things are falling in place, and thank you for what you have done.
Yeah. Well, I would never sacrifice quality for speed. So that's one thing. So I don't think that should be the primary concern. But like you say, you have more time if you chant more quickly. I don't chant so fast myself, so I'm not a Speedy Gonzalez expert in japa. I have a godbrother who feels like if he doesn't chant fast, he won't concentrate. But some people are the opposite. If they chant fast, they're not in the mood because they just feel like they're just trying to finish their rounds. Badahari, are you here? Yeah. Do you have the experience after japa retreats, it takes longer to chant? Because that's my experience. Yeah. Is that because we're relishing it more, do you think? But a lot of devotees have said after japa retreats, like 5 days, going very deeply, it takes them longer to chant. And that's what I think, is that we're relishing the chanting and we actually don't want to finish our 16 rounds so fast. I think that happens to me a lot. Or like I slow down just because I know when I have so much to do, when I hit 16 I'll stop. So I don't know if that's really a problem in and of itself. Let me just end it there. I don't know what else to say. You can try different things if you want to chant faster and see what happens. Some people just don't sleep enough, so it takes them longer. They're just tired. That could be also. Does somebody else want to share their experience? Yes.
felt during that experience that the boulder was diminishing.
Oh, good.
And then, yeah, sorry, I just want to say that during that experience, it felt like the boulder was diminishing. So I felt to a degree, I don't know, closer to Krishna. So yeah, it was a very positive experience, but I just felt like this boulder that I'd set, just felt like it, through the chanting, just diminished.
Beautiful. Thank you. May all your boulders be destroyed by the power of the holy name.
I was just thinking when you mentioned about biggest block, I was thinking inattentive japa for me personally is definitely there because a lot of things root from that. But then I was also thinking there's a verse in the 6th canto in the Ajamil pastime where it's saying that if one chants indirectly, neglectfully, still there's so much benefit. So when I'm trying to be attentive and if I drift off, that verse comes to mind and I feel okay with drifting off. So
I could make you feel not okay about it. I don't know if I should. I think I should. That's for a jamil. That's for people who aren't accustomed to chanting. But for us, then it becomes offensive. For Ajamil, it wasn't offensive because he wasn't practicing bhakti. But for us, when we drift off, now it's not namabhas anymore. Now it becomes namaparad. But for him, it's namabhas because he's not even trying to chant. He's just chanting Narayan. So I think maybe that's more, it's better to think that way. Because you can correct it. I mean, obviously all chanting is beneficial, but I want to say something else. This is not in Shastra, but this is my experience, and you may have this experience also. That, you know how Shastra says if you commit offense, you should just continue chanting. And by continually chanting, you'll overcome the offense. And then we said, well, we should chant feeling remorseful. My experience is, as Prabhupada said, chanting produces more chanting. Because he was asked by a reporter, what do you get by chanting? And he said, more chanting. The reporter didn't, most people wouldn't understand, but it means you'll get a taste, you'll become more Krishna conscious, you want to chant more, you'll become more Krishna conscious. That's what he meant. So I came up with a little slogan that good chanting produces more good chanting and bad chanting produces more bad chanting. So my experience was that it programs us to repeat the quality of our chanting tends to repeat because it's a practice, and anything you practice, it gets muscle memoried into the body. So my experience was that if I just chant, just to chant 24 hours a day, and if I just chant, like during the day, Hare Krishna, and I'm doing a million things and I'm just chanting, which is quote unquote good, but it tends to create that habit when I sit down to chant japa that I start chanting haphazardly because that's how I was just chanting during the day, going about my work and chanting. So it's something to be conscious of. So if I allow myself to space out and keep chanting and then I bring it back, but it's like you say, it's better than not chanting, obviously. But it does create this samskara, where that's just kind of how I do it. And so if you think about it, most of us have a standard, a level at which we chant, which is pretty similar day in and day out. If you try to improve, your standard goes up. If you're not careful, it can go down. And many senior devotees will testify their rounds are worse today than they were 20 years ago or 30 years ago. So that is highly possible if you're not careful. So that's something to consider, that as you repeat, whatever you repeat, it tends to repeat the next day. And so has any of you experienced that? Like, your japa kind of went down and it stayed down. It kind of became the new standard. Well, it works the other way also. So obviously we want it to work the other way. The positive realization I had was that if I try to improve my japa and it does improve and the experience is better, then it's harder to go back down because it's such a lower experience, both during japa and the effects of the japa. So I tried internally in my life to create an internal standard, which I know what it is, and if I go below it, it kind of like, it kicks up. It doesn't always happen, but it happens quite a lot. Like I have the threshold, don't go under this threshold, because I've practiced above that threshold enough to realize that this is like, for me, minimum standard. I have to be at this level. Now, in my japa workshops, I ask devotees on a scale of 1 to 10, where's your japa? With 10 being like prema, and 1 being you pick up your bead bag, but you never chant around. You just put it down. You kind of try, but you can't. And 5 being not really good and not really bad. So 5 is like, at least I'm chanting. But probably at the end of my life, if I only chant at a 5, I'll look back and say, that wasn't good enough. And 4 is definitely needs to go up. And 6 is like, it's good. You know, have some taste. It's a good threshold, 6 and above. So, where do you think the average number comes out? You just want to guess, you know. This is like maybe 15 japa workshops asking this question. Where is your number on a scale? Where do you think most of the numbers fall? Who would like to take a guess?
4.
4, exactly. Yeah. Most are 3.5 to 4.5. That's where the most of them fall. That's below average. So that's interesting. We do have some 6, 7, and by the end of the workshop, we have a lot more 6, 7s. And I tell everybody that I think our threshold minimum should be 6. Because to me, it's like a plane, and 6 is going up, so at least you're moving up slowly. And 4 is like, it's probably getting worse. That's why I say, older devotees sometimes say now it's worse than it was in the past, because it can slip. And so, I think one of the greatest things we can all do is create a threshold. You know, like around 6, at least above 5. And so, it becomes subconscious to the point that when I'm chanting and it goes below, I just automatically go, no, this is not good enough. In realization that it's very easy to chant at a level 4. It doesn't take much effort to chant at a level 4, which is why most of us are there, because most of us probably are not putting in as much effort as we could or should. So it's something just to be conscious of, that if you let yourself slip, it can become a habit. And it can be harder. So I would suggest just don't let yourself slip. Keep your threshold at least above 5. So when you slip, automatically you bang up, bang back. And you can do it. Now this is what's interesting. Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, as you said, I think you said, inattention is the cause of all other offenses. And one of the aspects of inattention is apathy, which means I don't care. Have you ever chanted your rounds and just like not cared? Right? Which is kind of a symptom, I think, maybe a symptom. We're not caring so much about our Krishna consciousness in general, because one would think, if I cared more about my Krishna consciousness, I would care more about my japa, being that japa is probably the most important thing for my Krishna consciousness. Does that make sense to you? So I thought this was so powerful, because we just did many courses on self-care, and so we were talking about apathy, like I don't care. Like, where does that come from? Why don't I care about my health, finances, relationships, sadhana, and so forth? This is very strange. And he's saying, that's the cause of bad japa, I don't care. So that's just something that we have to note, that we all have at least this potential apathy, just to like, yeah, whatever, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll chant good rounds tomorrow. Today they'll be bad. And as my daughter said, don't trust your future self. Because your future self tends to say, we'll do it tomorrow. Right? So this is really an important thing to take with, for all of us to take with us, that we're fighting a kind of spiritual apathy. And my theory, which I taught in the self-care course, is that spiritual apathy is a lack of self-care. Like, I just don't care enough about my spiritual life. If I cared more about my spiritual life, obviously I would care more about my japa. So sometimes I actually can't help people improve their japa without helping them care more about themselves, because I give them all the techniques, but they don't care enough about their own spiritual life to put them into practice. So we have to care enough about ourselves. Save yourself first, Prabhupada said. Highest realization, save yourself. We have to care about our own spiritual life. You know, some of us are like ultimate sacrificers. We'll sacrifice everything, including our spiritual life and sadhana, for service, for other people, and we suffer. And so that's a kind of apathy. It doesn't look like apathy, but it's apathetic to our own well-being, even if we're helping others, because we can only help others so far before we neglect ourselves. So this is an important principle. And so if I care more about myself, I'll care more about my threshold, where I put my threshold, so that when you have more self-care, you have thresholds in your life. You know, this is the threshold of neglect of my health. When it gets below this, I haven't exercised for 7 days, it hits my threshold, I bounce back. I've eaten, you know, I promised myself not to eat these foods, I ate them, click the threshold, okay, that's it. Nothing for the next month or two or whatever. So, like that. I think that's extremely important. This is just experience. From seeing people take workshops, and then, you know, it goes really good for a while, and then it goes down, and I wonder, well, why would it go down? Maybe we just don't care enough. So, it works for you when you apply yourself and do this. So I would say, like, in other words, everything you're learning here, when you leave today, the next month is critical to implementing this. It's like, because if you do everything, you try, well, take whatever you want to take from this and apply it every day, then you develop the samskara, the habit. So it'll tend to repeat itself. You have a better chance of it lasting that way. And if you care about your spiritual life, you have pretty much like 100% chance of it working. Or let's say 100% more of a chance of working than if you're like, we'll see what happens, whatever, you know. Yeah, how was the workshop? Yeah, it was good. You're going to apply it? Yeah, we'll see, maybe, you know, who knows. It's like, that's all apathy. It's all laziness. Well, three things: distraction, apathy, laziness, are the three aspects of inattention. And inattention is the cause of all the other offenses. So that's something to pay attention to, it seems like, to me, right? So I think the worst thing we can do for ourselves is to chant bad japa, and I think the best thing we can do for ourselves is to chant good japa. And as far as self-care is concerned, what I've noticed is that the more things you do to care for yourself, the more you develop a self-care mentality. So it just becomes like a normal way. You take care of one thing, you tend to be more self-caring with other things. So you'll take care of your health. You'll take care of, all of a sudden, even if you're just taking care of your health, you'll start to take care better of your sadhana, or vice versa. It can happen like that. Yes, we had a question in the back. The microphone is coming.
Thank you, Prabhu, for your point, especially about getting to the different levels of apathy. It's a wonderful experience to go so deeply into your japa, even for 5 minutes. But how do we regulate that? Because of course, you know, the ideal is that we're all scratching the walls like Mahaprabhu in absolute ecstasy. But as Prabhu was saying before, you've got 2 hours, right? What about the other 22? And you know, I can't attend the rest of the lecture because my child needs changing, or this, that, and the other. How do we reconcile that? Okay, Guru Maharaj, I've agreed to chant 16 rounds, and I can barely chant 4 because I have a newborn, or
Right.
how do we find a middle ground in that?
I can give you Giriraj Swami's answer. That question's been asked 100 times at the Japa workshops by mothers with kids. And he didn't say don't chant 16 rounds, but that was implied, like you may not be able to. He just said mothers get special mercy. I would say as a general principle, we're all in various restricting situations, and Krishna knows what they are and he understands, and so the main thing is be sincere as possible within the parameters of what you can do. And everyone has their limitation according to the situation. And your kids won't be young forever. And so, there was one devotee who was living not far from the temple, maybe like 15 miles. And she wrote her spiritual master and said, I want to move near the temple, because this temple in America had houses you could live in near the temple. And he said, no, don't. Stay far away. He said, because when you're far away, you'll always be thinking about the temple, and when you're next to the temple, you'll never go to the temple. So we have communities of people who live next to the temple or within 30 to 40 second walk who never go. I haven't exactly figured that out, but I've seen it in many places. So that's also there, that sometimes your desire to chant may be even greater because you can't. And so when he's older and you can chant, you might appreciate it more because of that experience. It's possible. And what I would say is, if all you can chant is 4, just make those 4 as good as you can. Yeah, as we all know, 1 really good round is better than 16 bad rounds. Everyone knows that, but we have to chant 16. And I can't, say that, I can't say, well, it's all right to chant 1 good round because it's better than 16 bad rounds, but our experience is 16 bad rounds is like, at least I did 16, that was my vow, but all right, beyond that, they weren't good, so you really didn't do 16, technically speaking. So just do what you can in the situation you can. There's no other answer, really. And Krishna understands. And when all else fails, chant 1 pure holy name. Yes?
Hare Krishna, thank you so much. So one question that's come up is that, do we always have to feel ecstatic when we're measuring our own barometer?
Uh-huh.
Is it just ecstasy that we should feel, or are there other emotions that can guide us in that path as well?
Mm-hmm. You mean as a barometer of good japa, should it be ecstatic? On the ecstatic meter? There are other barometers. But as we discussed this morning in class, sometimes Krishna may take the taste away just to see what you're going to do. So one test is that you're trying. That's a test of good japa from the endeavor. So you have 2 points of view, the endeavor perspective and then the consequence of the result perspective. Now we can't control the results, and Krishna can give results or not. Have you ever chanted and you had this huge taste and you have no idea why, because you're just mumbling like you normally do, and you just feel like, oh my God, I just want to chant all day. Some special mercy, you did some austerity, some special service, and you're chanting bad rounds, and you're getting a taste. So it's not always indicative of anything other than Krishna's mercy. So I would say the best indicator is your effort, and let the consequence, technically, shastrically, consequence of good japa is taste. You want to chant more, you like chanting, you feel blissful and satisfied. That may not always happen, and Krishna may not arrange that. He may want to test you and take that away and just see if you'll continue to chant. Or he may take it away so that you go more deeply into your chanting to get that taste. Is it wrong to desire taste? No, we should. We should. That's part of the process. You know, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love? That we should. So I would look at it more from the endeavor perspective. I think that's a better barometer. Like, what is your effort? What is your mood? What are you putting into it? Rather than what Krishna is giving you back. That's up to him. Is that okay?
Yes, thank you.
Somebody else had a... Yeah. Haribol.
I want to ask, reflecting on the things that we've done so far, I feel like I don't know how to apologize because I've apologized for my mind drifting, but if my apology was sincere, my mind wouldn't drift again. So I just wanted to ask how to get that depth and sincerity in apology.
I didn't hear if you said something about your mind. If you apologize, then your mind...
So if I say sorry to Krishna for my mind drifting, then if my apology was actually sincere and had the depth of it, it wouldn't drift again. So
I would say it's similar to what I just answered. Well, I'll tell you a story. Would you like to hear a story? Yes. Would you like to hear a good story? Yes. I only tell good stories, so if it's a story, it's good, yeah. When Giriraj Swami was once with Prabhupada, he basically said what you said. He said, you know, when I'm chanting, my mind wanders. And Prabhupada just asked him one thing. And then the Giriraj Swami said, is that offensive? And Prabhupada said, are you trying, like you're trying to hear, you're trying to focus, you're trying to chant sincerely? He said, yes, I am trying, but sometimes it wanders. And Prabhupada said, well, if you're trying, it's not offensive. So, Krishna, please forgive me. I feel horrible for what I've done. Does that mean I'll never do it again? Not necessarily, but it means probably less because I'm conscious of what I'm doing wrong. I want to be forgiven. Remorse is a corrective process, as is guilt can be good as a corrective process. And so the main thing is that I'm trying. So I'm sorry and I'm trying. If I'm sorry and I'm not trying, forget it. Krishna's like, okay, forget you. This is not what it's about, you know. It's not about taking advantage of bhakti by just apologizing, and then it almost becomes like the seventh offense, you know, committing sin. But if one is trying, oh, I have a beautiful story. Would you like to hear a beautiful story? Yes. Yeah. This is such a beautiful story. It's going to make you cry. This is one of my favorite stories. There was a couple that was with Prabhupada in his room, and they were very nice devotees, but they had one weakness, which was they were smoking marijuana. And they were telling Prabhupada, you know, we're smoking marijuana. Like what to do, and you know, are we going to hell? Are we going to the marijuana planet? Are we going to become a marijuana plant in our next life? They felt really bad about it, but it was, you know, it was some kind of addiction. You know, Prabhupada, we try to stop, but after a while we can't stop. We do it again, and we feel really bad like that. So Prabhupada had just received a letter from a devotee who was doing more or less the same thing, maybe more than marijuana, doing other things. And then trying to stop and stopping, and then again falling, and then again stopping, and for a while, and then again falling, and like that. So Prabhupada had his servant bring the letter. He said, read this letter. So they read the letter. Dear Srila Prabhupada, you know, I'm chanting, everything's good for about a month, and then I fall into whatever. Intoxication, illicit sex, gambling, probably not meat eating, one of those three, if not all. And then I overcome it, and for a month or two, and then I fall back into it for a few weeks, then I overcome it. And so after they read the letter, Prabhupada looks at the couple and says, just see how he's struggling. That was a compliment. Isn't that beautiful? That was a compliment. What were you thinking when I read that letter? You were thinking Prabhupada's going to give him the sauce, right? It's kind of like, what nonsense is this devotee? Trying, just do it. What's wrong with you? And Prabhupada's glorifying him. Just see how he's struggling. Isn't that beautiful? I have another beautiful support for this from Mahabharata. So, Krishna's going to talk to Duryodhana to try to stop the war. And he tells Vidura, tomorrow I'm going to see Duryodhana. And Vidura says, Duryodhana, he's not going to stop the war. Don't waste your time. Don't make an effort to try to stop him. He's not going to stop. And Krishna said, if someone tries and fails, the fact that they tried, I consider meritorious. Like they get the benefit of trying even though they failed. So what we gain from this, and there's another story, a similar thing, devotee telling Prabhupada, I'm trying, falling. And Prabhupada started laughing when he heard that. I guess it was in person. Prabhupada was laughing. And he said, my dear boy, you're just like a kid. You're standing up and falling down. It's like, that's normal. So I think maybe we don't realize that standing up and falling and standing up and falling and standing up and falling is normal. And the beauty is that you stand up. And that's what Krishna sees. Every time you fall, you stand up. And you're not using it as an excuse. If you're using it as an excuse, then it's like the seventh offense. It's an offense to the holy name. So just see how he's struggling. And then Prabhupada said something which could be misunderstood, but in this context, I think we can understand it. He says, Krishna likes to see his devotees struggle. And then the 11th canto, that verse, I forget the number, where Krishna's saying, my devotee, they're conditioned, they try and they fall. And they're remorseful and they keep going, and I know that they're struggling. So I think it's so important for us to understand that the effort is what Krishna sees, and the effort is what's important. And that if we're sincerely making an effort despite our faults, the effort Krishna considers meritorious, that you made the effort. And the other thing Krishna said in that verse is that if you have a sinful thought but you don't execute it, that's also meritorious, that you didn't act on it. And Jiva Goswami says, don't speak what you're thinking in your mind if it's not pure, if it's a critical or so. Just don't speak it. If you don't speak it, it's okay. So that my mind, whatever, sometimes it becomes critical, but I don't speak it because I can control my words. So that's good. So Krishna's like, okay, that's good. You didn't speak it. Krishna, please forgive me. I'm trying. And I don't take it cheaply. I ask your forgiveness. Because I'm trying. I can't ask for forgiveness continually if I'm not trying. That's not fair. And Krishna or Prabhupada won't accept it. And Prabhupada said that. Is that okay? Hare Krishna. So, we have 23 minutes, right? Is that correct? No, we don't have 23. We have 17. Is that correct? Only 17. So let's do one more verse, and the other verses maybe we'll have a few moments. I can just briefly go over. So let's go to verse 4, and of course these first 4 verses are all very relatable to us, and we can chant it together. It's up there. Nadanam najanam sundarim kavitam va jagadishakamaye mama janmani janmanishvare bhavatad bhakti rahai tukitvaye. O Lord of the universe, I do not desire material wealth, materialistic followers, a beautiful wife, or fruits of activities described in flowery language. All I want, life after life, is unmotivated devotional service to you. So, you might look at this verse and say, well, I kind of do want some of those things a little bit. And this unmotivated devotional service, I don't know if I'm ready for that, if I can do it, and so forth. That's not exactly the mood of this verse. But first we should clarify that as spirit souls embodied in physical bodies, we do have needs. So we do need some money, we do need home and so forth. So that's not really what's being described here. This is being described as material attachments which are antithetical to bhakti. And I don't want these things, and I gradually want to minimize these things. And this verse actually defines the meaning of the Maha Mantra that Prabhupada gave, "O Krishna, please engage me in your service." How does it define it? Because Prabhupada said, the meaning, Krishna, please engage me in your service, also means, Krishna, please protect me from serving Maya. I don't want to engage in Maya's service. It means the same thing. And then Prabhupada went on to elaborate. What does it mean? For so many lifetimes, I've been engaged in Maya's service. So please now, in this lifetime, give me the strength to engage in your service. So there's this tension that we all have between the desire for pure devotional service and the desire for everything that's not pure. You know, my material desires, my wants. Not needs, but excessive desire. And so, when we're chanting the holy name, we're asking Krishna, please engage me in your service, which means please help me develop pure devotional service. Please help me overcome these desires. I don't want them. I know I don't want them. I know they don't make me happy, but they're there. Please help me. I understand that bhakti means I should serve you purely. Pure motive to serve Krishna is what is the goal. I understand that. That's what I want. So this verse, rather than stating this is my state, we should see it, at least for us, as stating this is the state I want to be in, and I'm praying to the holy name that I can come to the state of purity. So it's a kind of hankering for pure bhakti. Now, whatever my material situation is, whatever my material needs and desires are, is one thing. This verse will take me from wherever I'm at and pray to be in a better place. Maybe there's something that I just need to let go of right now. Can you think of something it would be good that you let go of right now? That's like blocking your bhakti. It would just better throw it in the dustbin and forget about it. We all have those. And that Japa session where we were praying, Krishna, I need help. So it's something like that. There may be things happening in our life right now that we really need just to okay, I need to let go of that. This a little thing, like whatever. Too much Instagram or something. It's just too much. I need to just stop it. Because it's getting in the way of something, my chanting, or I waste time with this or that. So that's kind of the mood. And we're all confronted with this every day. And so chanting in this mood is very natural because we're all in a lower position than we want to be in. Isn't it? Don't we all want to be higher? Yeah. So this verse is like praying, can I be higher? Krishna, I want to be higher. I would love to be in this position where I didn't want anything other than pure bhakti, because that's the goal anyway. That's where we're going with the chanting, right? So all this verse is really telling us is, let us enter our chanting of the holy name in the mood of praying for pure bhakti. Now, there's a big problem before we do this, and we've done this in our workshops, and it's very interesting. We have a little exercise, and the exercise goes like this. If I completely surrender to Krishna, what if? And then you write all your what ifs, like your fears. If I surrender to Krishna, what if this will happen? Like the fear of surrender, which is actually completely ridiculous. It's like saying, if I love Krishna, how will my life be messed up? Well, that's what it's saying. And we think like that, don't we? Like, if I just surrender to Krishna. If I just surrender to Krishna, I'll never get married. He'll never give me a husband, or never give me a wife. Like, we think like that. He's going to take all the money out of my bank. Tomorrow. I know he doesn't want me to have money. I'm going to get in a car accident. He's going to send me to the hospital because I'm a rascal. We're making Krishna look like Ravana or something. It's like really insane if you think about it. Krishna is all loving. There's nobody that loves you as much as him, and we're afraid of surrender. Right? So the reason we do this exercise is because I noticed when we were chanting, I don't know if I noticed this, but I started thinking, if we have this reservation, how can we chant in the mood of this verse? We won't, because we're afraid if I go more pure in my bhakti, something's going to happen. Krishna's going to take something away. I personally don't think that way because it's not my experience. My experience is the opposite. He gives more. The more I give of myself, the more he gives me. The less I give of myself, the more he takes away because it's getting in the way. But as I become more Krishna conscious and detached, he gives me more. He goes, oh, you're detached. You can use more. Here, take it. So it's actually the opposite of what we think. So we have to remove this fear. Otherwise, we can't enter the mood of this verse. We'll be chanting, oh, Krishna, please give me devotional service. And in the middle of it, we're thinking, I don't know about that, because that sounds kind of scary. So our chanting goes from Hare Krishna to Hare Krishna, I don't think so. Not ready for it, Hare Ram. So I was noticing, or at least making an assumption, that the intensity of a devotee's japa subconsciously could be reduced out of fear. If I chant better, I'll actually be more surrendered, and I don't know if I'm ready for that. It sounds scary. So I would just like to say, it's not scary. The scariest thing is not to surrender. That's really scary, because that gets you another body after body after body. And surrender gets you to play with Krishna eternally. So to be scared of that, I don't know. You need to go to therapy. Because that's not what we should be afraid of. We should be afraid of not surrendering. And so if we don't understand that, we can't enter into this mood. And if we understand that, we can totally enter this mood that I want a loving relationship with Krishna. I want to reciprocate with his love. He's already surrendered to me and I don't want to surrender to him. What's wrong with me? It doesn't make sense. He's given his heart to me. He's saying, come on, let's go, let's play. I don't know if I give my heart to you. How many songs are there about giving your heart to this guy or girl and they break it? Like, how many songs do you need to hear before you trust Krishna to give your heart to him? There's no song that I gave my heart to. Well, there is, in a sense. I gave my heart to Krishna. That rascal, he ran away with another woman. Yeah, but that's different. That's blissful. So anyway, this is the mood. Now, Krishna, I want pure devotional service. And so we have enough time for one round. So we're gonna try to get in this mood. Maybe if you're like, I don't know if I'm there yet, then your prayer is, Krishna, help me get there. I don't know if I can fully pray yet, but Krishna, help me get to the point where I can fully pray for pure bhakti. Can we do that? Give it a try? Okay, let's try. Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda. If people want to stay and ask questions, is that okay? Is this room needed for anything? Now? I want, okay. Okay. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram Ram Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram Ram Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram Ram Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram Ram Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram Ram Hare Krishna Ram Ram Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram Ram Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram Ram Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram Ram Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram Krishna Hare Hare Ram Ram Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Ram Ram Hare Krishna Ram Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram 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 Ram Ram Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Krishna Hare Ram Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Hare Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Hare Krishna Hare Ram Hare Krishna Hare Hare Ram Hare Krishna Hare Ram Hare Krishna Hare Hare Ram Hare Krishna Hare Ram Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Ram, Hare Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Ram, Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Ram, Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Ram, Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Ram, Ram. 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 Hare Krishna. I have some very bad news. The workshop is officially over. But I have some good news also, that anyone who wants to stay can stay and ask questions. So I'll stay here as long as there's questions. And I have some information about you. I have 2 USB sticks. One USB stick has my workshops, including the Japa workshop, forgiveness workshop, workshop on vows, marriage. They're like 30, I don't know, it's like 50 hours. No, it's like 300 hours of workshops, something, I forget. How many workshops are on there?
700 hours.
700 hours. You better like Mahatma's lectures if you buy that one. 700 hours of workshops. And we have another one with my music, so I have like 9 CDs. But in addition to the CDs, and the other kirtans, we have live kirtans and songs I did in English and kids' songs. But in addition to that, I put on this stick, how much is that USB stick? The music one. 20. So in America, it's $35 because I put all the other ones on it. So what we're going to do for you here, because she said it's 20, it's going to be 35 tonight when it goes to the kirtan, because I put so much more on it. So it'll be 20 for you now. And we have about 60 or 70. So it means every other person can get one. But let me tell you what's on it. There are 25 guided japa meditations, which are like 5-minute meditations on a different topic, which sets you up to have amazing japa, to put you in a mindset. Like one meditation is like on letting go, it just puts you in this mindset to let go, and then you chant japa to help you let go of something you need to let go of. Other ones will help you in feeling the holy name and expressing different emotions. They're really, really nice. I did these about 3 years ago. Then they're really good. And in addition, I have 8 guided meditations. No, in addition, I have another one which has 12 meanings of the holy name. And so they're spaced out every 2 minutes. So you just put it on, and there's one meaning, and you meditate on that meaning while you chant, and then 2 minutes later, the next meaning comes up. Oh Krishna, please accept me. Krishna, engage me in your service. Krishna, bring my heart to you. Like that, a meaning comes up, and then you can meditate on it. So that's there. So you have 25 guided japa meditations. You have one with the meanings, which you could practically use every day if you wanted. It's really nice. You have 8 guided meditations on self-care, but some of those guided meditations are in Krishna's love. And the idea is that you hear what Prabhupada said about how much Krishna loves you, and then you want to reciprocate through the holy name, chanting. And some of these guided meditations of Krishna's love are like, they're so beautiful. And based on what Prabhupada said. And so that really empowers the japa. And then there are, so the 8 of those, and there I think, are 15 other guided meditations which are philosophical, which were really done for non-devotees. But putting them through a guided meditation about karma, about reincarnation, about vegetarianism, and like that. I mean, they're good for us, but they were really for non-devotees, so you can use them for them. So in total, there are 50 guided meditations on that, plus my music. So you're going to get it today, only, right now, for the first 60 people. We have more, but I have to copy them. You can get it for 20, but when it goes over there, what's the pound worth these days compared to the dollar?
126.
126, yeah. So maybe it'll be 30 over there when it goes over there. So you'll save 10 pounds. And we have a book called Japa Affirmations, which will help you get in the mood for Japa, and some other books. We have our new Living the Wisdom of Bhakti. If you've got Volume 1, we have Volume 2, hot off the press. And if you don't have Volume 1, Volume 2 is just as good. You don't need Volume 1. And so that's all there if you're interested. And I just want to thank you for coming and remind you, we went through 4 emotions today. You remember? Appreciation. And then what was the second one? Remorse. The third one? Humility, helplessness. And the last one, praying for pure bhakti. There's so many emotions you can bring into the chanting. So this is just to give you a sample of what it's like and how to do this. Thank you very much for coming. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Anyone who wants to stay, just come to the front. You can ask your question and we'll continue. Why don't you bring the chairs up a little closer? Yeah.
I'm one on the other floor then.
I'm before
the next
you.
floor.
You have to wait. No, I just wanted to. I suffer from apathy. I suffer from apathy. I'm like, yeah, days are so busy. It will be better tomorrow. How can I get rid of it?
Self-love.
Yeah, I don't do that.
Because we have this beautiful guided meditation. It's amazing. During the self-care course, we have this exercise. The exercise says, I love myself too much.